What makes a superhero so special? Well, obviously they have superpowers and they save the day and all that sort of stuff, but they also have the energy to fight bad guys and save damsels in distress all throughout the day. If all they could really do was fight one bad guy before calling it a day, then I guess they're still pretty super, but they would leave thousands of damsels in distress. Now, you probably don't have to fight any bad guys or save any damsels, but having superhero-like energy can be beneficial in almost any area of your life. You can get more done at work. You'll be able to focus more on your family instead of being a couch potato, and who knows, you might even end up saving a cat or two. What's going on, Masters? Nick here.
Nikolai here.
I'm so glad to see all of you magnificent people, and I know you have great plans for the weekend, whether that's just chillaxing on the couch or jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. Well, with a parachute, of course. But I don't want to keep you from those for too long, so let's jump right into it. Today I'm going to be going over 5 tips to give you superhero-like energy, and at the end of this video, I'm going to be going over a bonus tip, so stick around if that's something you're interested in, and don't if you don't. But there is one thing I want you to keep in mind throughout this video. As long as you give your body what it needs, then it will give you the body that you require from it, because it will adapt to the circumstances that you put it under on a consistent basis. But if you don't give it what it needs, then it won't give you the energy that you need throughout the day.
Tip number 1 is to eat less sugar and more complex carbohydrates.
Thanks, Nikolai.
Nah.
I decided to change real quick, but whenever you eat sugary foods or really any processed foods, that turns to energy really quickly, so you get that spike of energy soon afterwards, and why kids get sugar highs. But it goes through all of its energy in that quick period, which is why you get the spike, but then you have the crash soon afterwards. With complex carbohydrates, you don't get that big burst of energy afterwards because the digestion is much slower because of the molecular arrangement, which I don't know too much about, so I'll just say because science. But with this slow digestion, their release of energy is a slower and more controlled release, which gives you a more consistent stream of energy. So you don't get the high highs like you do with sugar, but you also don't get the low loads. They also have the added benefit of being much healthier for you, so over the long run, your brain and body will have more natural energy just because you're eating healthier foods. Some of my favorite complex carbohydrates are rice, potatoes, and steel-cut oats, but there's also any kind of vegetable, beans, and whole grains, and more.
Tip number 2, soak up the sun.
The sun is a mighty, fiery giant. It gives us life, and one day it will bring us death when it eventually explodes and takes out the solar system. But until that day comes, it gives us life, and like Superman, it gives us energy. Firstly, it helps to regulate our circadian rhythm by telling us when to fall asleep and when to stay awake by preventing the secretion of melatonin, which is a chemical responsible for us getting tired and sleepy. So by getting out there and bathing in the sun, which, side note real quick, I would be outside, but it's real cloudy outside, so I'm kind of bummed because it's nice outside. But as I was saying, by getting outside and bathing in the sun, it helps to not only make sure that you stay awake, but it can also help you fall asleep faster. Now, I know there are some people that struggle to get out in the sun, either because the sun isn't really shining very often where they live, kind of like right now, or they just don't get outside too much. So for those people to kind of substitute for it, I would recommend just trying to make where you're working as bright as possible. And if you remember from my video on how to fall asleep faster, blue light is particularly useful at preventing the secretion of melatonin. So you can go out there and get some blue light bulbs or lamps, but I just use the lights that I use to record videos because they tend to be pretty bright. But that's not all. Getting back to the sun, it also gives us vitamin D, and a vitamin D deficiency has been linked directly to tiredness and fatigue. So you might be tired all the time just because you're not getting enough vitamin D, which is the case for 42%. And if you're one of those people that doesn't see the sun too often, then it's super easy just to go and get a vitamin D supplement. I'll have some linked in the description, and you're supposed to take a little bit less than 1,000 IUs a day, whatever that is, I don't really know. But just take a look at the daily recommended value and take 7 times that much. No, that's a bad idea. Take 1 times or 2 times that much might be safe. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Don't quote me on it.
Tip number 3, cut the caffeine.
Yep, he said it. I know over here in America we love our caffeine, especially Starbucks, but it is drastically decreasing our energy levels. I know it's supposed to do the opposite, and it does give us a little boost of energy, but it decreases our natural energy. And kind of like sugar, it gives us high highs, but also gives us low lows. And most people probably know this, but they just drink caffeine to get them through work, and then they don't really care about crashing whenever they get home. But by cutting caffeine out, it can drastically improve your home life because you'll have more energy to focus on your family. And if you're not at that point in life yet, then you'll have more energy to work on something that will give you more fulfillment out of life. You've probably also noticed that over the time of drinking caffeine, you've needed more and more to have the same energy level. This is because your body has adapted to the caffeine that you are giving it. What caffeine actually does is block the chemical called adenosine, which is responsible for our feelings of sleepiness, kind of like melatonin. And what our body does in response to this blockage is produce more adenosine receptors to kind of try and override that caffeine. Now, I've personally cut out caffeine recently, and at first I did have a dip in energy levels because I was struggling to adapt to life without caffeine. And for those of you that are super addicted to caffeine, it might take you a little bit longer to get over this hump. It just took me like a week or 2, but it could take you like a month or so. But I have now adapted to it and can confidently say that my energy levels are much higher and much more consistent, which has allowed me to get more work done and live a happier life.
Tip number 4, run from Bratva if you owe them money.
I think you mean exercise, Nikolai.
Oh, da.
Well, exercise probably sounds like an exhausting and tiresome venture, and it most definitely is. But instead of decreasing your energy, it actually increases it. Whenever you first start working out, your body's gonna be like, whoa, what's going on? I'm not used to this. And you'll most likely be pretty tired at first during the initial week, but your body doesn't really like being tired. So after that week or 2, it's going to adapt to it and give you more energy. You might have also heard people that have been working out for a while say on days that I do work out, I have more energy than on days that I don't. This is because they are shocking their system into being more awake and alert, which prepares them for the rest of the day. There are also a bunch of other sweet benefits of exercise, so if you haven't checked out my book summary of Spark, then make sure you do so.
Tip number 5, find biological prime time.
Biological prime time is a term that I first heard from the Productivity Project by Chris Bailey. Essentially, the idea is that you have natural high points or prime times where your energy levels are the highest. And then you also have natural low points. So you should try and take advantage of the high points by doing your most thoughtful and meaningful tasks during that time. Now, it does take a little bit of effort because for at least a week, you have to track every hour to see what your energy level is to figure out what your prime times are. Now, I personally didn't track my prime times, and you don't necessarily even need to, but it will help you get a better idea and be more effective in your planning if you do it. But I could tell that during the periods of 4 and 6 that I did have a dip in my energy levels, so I added a nap into that period and then cut my nighttime sleep from 8 to 6 hours. I'm not saying that you need to take a nap during your lull periods, although it has been working out pretty well, but you do want to try and use those periods a little bit more effectively. So instead of doing your meaningful tasks, do stuff that doesn't require much effort, like going through emails, scheduling, or making copies, and save your meaningful tasks for your prime times. Sorry, I had to change locations because my wings are ready, but the bonus tip is peppermint. See, oh god. Peppermint, focus camera. Okay, that's peppermint. I know, mind blown, right? But whether you rub this on your body, ingest it, or diffuse it into the air, it can give you a boost of energy. Now, it's not as consistent as the other tips that I had mentioned, but you can incorporate it into your biological prime time by using it whenever you hit a low point in your energy. I personally just have this oil and then I rub it on me or take a bath with it to give me a boost of energy. I'll have some linked in the description if you are interested in it. That's it for the productivity series. I hope you enjoyed it, and I know there's probably plenty more that I can include on productivity, and there might even be some stuff that I didn't go in depth enough on. So if that's the case for anything, then please let me know in the comments below whether you're watching this a year from now or you're watching it an hour after I posted it, because I'm probably going to continually add videos to this series as I think of things. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please pound that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.
Oh yeah, his wings are so good.
He didn't give me any wings.